action. Wow, perfect.
Amazing.
Hi, everybody. Welcome in to episode 8 of the Tea and Tales podcast with your hosts, ReneeSky, and myself, BloodyDrongo. And, wow, okay. Ren's already making me feel self-conscious, so that's a good start.
No.
We have beef.
We
I
have
don't know
beef?
if you I don't know if you remember the end of last episode, but
The train thing?
the train thing, yeah.
I remember. All right, let's start. That's our most recent controversy.
We've got to address it because this thing has absolutely taken
gone off the
on-
rails. Okay.
It has taken on a life of itself. It has become definitely derailed because ever since that last episode came out, what, a month ago?
Yeah.
I have been constantly inundated, bombarded by people saying, why do you hate trains? Why are you a train hater? You know, it just doesn't stop. And it's remarkable. There is people now that are coming in and asking why I hate trains that have never seen the podcast. They don't know the origins of this.
Oh no.
It is like, I can go into other Twitch channels. It's just everywhere. And it is incredible how far that has spread. So we need to talk about this.
Okay. So I didn't realize it had gone on so far because basically I just have people coming into my stream with condolences and sympathies. So I've quite enjoyed this controversy. It's been a nice little reprieve, and it seems to have overwritten my previous war crime of murdering a guinea pig in RimWorld. That's originally what I was known for, as I'd had people coming into my streams being like, T-pig much? So I'm actually really glad that I am now the sympathetic party of Twitch drama. That makes me feel good. So I'm sorry that you're suffering, but also I'm not, so I don't really care that much.
Well, the good news is that I have decided to reclaim the narrative.
Oh.
And I am currently working in a Thomas the Tank Engine Halloween costume, which I'm actually going to be wearing tonight. Which by the time this goes live, this will already be out there. There will be clips. There will be, footage. It'll be a whole thing. Do you want to see where I'm up to so far?
I really want to see where you're up to. Please. Oh my God, I'm so ready for this. YouTube viewers, you're in for a treat. If you're listening on Spotify. That looks like the birthday cake from the Woman's Weekly birthday cake book.
Okay, but low-key, some of those are bangers, so that's actually a compliment.
They're so good. Did you make that?
Yeah, I made the whole thing. Yeah, basically, so the front hole is for my face because it gets worn on my head. The side holes are for my headphones. Because it's back heavy, I needed a way that didn't involve straps and stuff to hold it to my head. So you just gotta hold
them down with your headphones.
Exactly. And then that way I can hear. And I also didn't have in-ear earbuds that worked with my sound mixer. So I needed a solution for actually being able to hear during the stream, and that kind of just solved a bunch of problems.
I'm actually so impressed with that innovation. Well done. That's great.
Thank you. I'm going to be wearing a lime green, what are they called? The suits, the morph suits, a lime green morph suit, so I can chroma key myself out. So I will just be floating Thomas the Tank Engine.
I didn't get you anything for Halloween, and I feel like you've given me such a gift. Oh no. We need more internet controversies, because this is fantastic content, my guy. I'm gonna have to put this on TikTok. Once again, I'm gonna be taking your content and making it into my content on TikTok.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make a cut in there of explaining the beef, then revisiting the beef, and then just a clip of me as Thomas the Tank Engine playing a game or something.
I think I'm going to have to do, that really hyped up thing that TikTok creators do where it's a fast zoom out and then they go, you will not believe what this content creator did. I'm going to have to do something like that. And we're like, you are not going to believe how this guy responded to allegations that he hates train. he became one.
Yeah, exactly. It's the
That's
ultimate,
actually a really
like,
great idea for TikTok, and I'm 100%
I
gonna
can't
do
hate
that.
trains. If I hated trains, I wouldn't be a train, would I? Checkmate, atheists. What do you have to say about that, huh?
I will say, like, now that you've mentioned it, I've had a lot of people come in and just randomly be like, Renee, I went into Drongo's streams and there was a train on the screen. And I'm like, okay. Like, they're reporting to me all the evidence of you either disliking trains or being a hypocrite. I just get my flying monkeys come back to me and just report to me, and I'm like, it was
I
a
like
bit.
that the implication there is that you're the Wicked Witch.
Yeah. Have you seen Wicked? I'm actually the victim. Just
Okay,
so you know.
all right.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen Wicked, but
I recently went to see the stage show at QPAC.
Oh,
It
good
was-
segue. Oh my
Thank
god.
you, thank you, thank you. It was a really wonderful night. Wicked has been one of my favorite musicals since I was like a
Okay.
little teenager. So to actually get to see like the touring stage show was an experience I never thought I was going to have. But it was a really amazing night, an incredible production. And if it's coming to your city, I highly recommend going to see it. The music is brilliant. It's so good.
Right. Yeah, I have heard good things about it. It's one of those ones that's been around for ages, like as long as I can
2004?
remember, right?
Yeah, it's been out for a very, very long time. It is a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, so there are like references to what is now a very old piece of media.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a good night out. Like going to the theater, getting dressed up, going out for dinner, and then going to see a stage show. I think more people should do it, even if you don't know what the stage show is. It's just a nice, different thing to do.
Sure.
And depending on which city you live in, you can actually find like cheapish stage shows. We went to see something for like $40 a couple of weeks ago. It's
Yeah.
nice just to get out and not have a screen in front of you, but like live stage performances are really, really fun. Anyway, that was my segue.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I mean, I am in the midst of just having come back from TwitchCon for San Diego and PAX as well for PAX Australia
my gosh.
down in Melbourne.
How are you doing?
Sorry?
How are you going? Are you tired? Are you?
I'm pretty tired, yeah. I'm very ready to not socialize for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of socialization time, and I definitely find that my social batteries definitely drain. Not the fastest, because the company's really good and it is nice to speak with other people that immediately kind of get it. They're they're doing the same sort of thing as you. They're in the same industry. You don't have to explain what Twitch is 50 million times. And that's just a nice kind of like change of pace from that perspective. But even so, even with great company and, invigorating and motivating conversations, it's still a case of once it's done, you're like, oh, okay, I can finally breathe again and try and catch up on, other stuff. Because it's definitely been a case of I've been running around trying to organize things and trying to keep things moving, but also just doing the bare minimum in some aspects just to get by before I can focus on other things, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's been good. Actually, I should say, before we completely remove context of the train thing, I did do a community meetup in PAX, and we did it in this park in Melbourne near the convention center called Batman Park. And it's right near the railway, and I didn't consider that. And there was this steam train that came by in the community meet, and literally everybody there just turned around and just looked at me just like, so Drongo, look, it's a train.
What do you think of that?
What do you reckon about that? I'm like, I don't care. But it was like just rehearsed. It felt like it was a scripted canon event.
Oh, I love the things the universe is doing for me lately. I have to be appreciative. That's so good. Thank you for telling me. A wonderful story.
You're so welcome, I think. I don't know.
That, considering, like, that is the first TikTok or, like, I guess, like, short form content I've put out of the podcast in that format where it's, like, our little webcams stuck on top of each other. It did really surprisingly well, which I think, considering we had some massive audio issues for that podcast, I was actually really surprised. People seem to really enjoy like this podcast format, and like, because I just think like it's just an hour, it's 2 hours of us just yapping, right? Like we have gone on some unhinged rants during these podcasts over the last couple of years. And I know I am the one that goes on the unhinged rants that went acknowledged yet unspoken. So
I wasn't going to mention it, but
I know, but I feel like
take ownership.
I need to take ownership.
I love that for you.
But it was actually really, really surprising to see it do so well, and it's like, oh, people actually really do like this podcast. I do get asked about it a lot, and it is just really, it's really lovely to know that we don't need to like work really hard at like scripting content or editing content, or, you know, people really do just enjoy us for us. So like that's something that I think is very, very easily overlooked, and I know I for one have taken it for granted. So like if this train thing has brought that kind of into the light, and I should be more grateful for people really liking this podcast and kind of spreading it far and wide because they like our antics together. Like maybe the train controversy did some good.
Maybe it did just bring a little bit of something.
I was like, oh damn, people actually really like this. Oh, okay, cool.
Or they just really like tormenting me. I don't know.
I think 100%. I reckon that a Twitch chat's favorite pastime is just nagging. They love to nag. We went from grateful to accusatory real fast.
I agree. We're very grateful for you, but also, what? You just love complaining? You love making, like, okay. It is what it is.
It is what it is. All right. What was your worst travel story over the last couple of months? You've done a lot of travel in the last couple of months.
I've got a great travel story. You are going to eat this up. This is like prime time. Get comfortable. Pull up a pew, everybody, because I've got perhaps one of the most uncomfortable flights that anybody has ever taken. It felt like I was a prop in some kind of like comedy movie. It was incredible. It was incredible. So let me paint the picture. So I'm in Sydney Airport and waiting to catch my flight from Sydney to LA, which is about 13-14 hours. No, is it longer than that?
I think it's a long time. It's around, I think it can get up around 23.
I don't think so. I think it's somewhere between like 13 to 16 hours, depending on which way you're going. Anyway, it was a reasonably long flight, right?
Yes.
So, I didn't reserve any seats because basically I wasn't able to, because Qantas was doing this like thing where they're doing like route sharing with another airline, which in their case is like American Airlines. So they basically like will sell flights through the Qantas website, which I needed to do because I had a Qantas voucher to use. And so I booked it through the Qantas website, but then it books it with American Airlines. Mm-hmm. But because I booked it through Qantas, they wouldn't let me kind of go in and modify my booking or choose my seating, which was kind of annoying. And so... Oh my God. Actually, there's a really other good story to tell with that. I might tell that first. We'll get to the other one later. So the thing that happened with that booking specifically was because I booked all of my hotels and flights and everything all at the same time, I didn't notice until the day before or a couple of days before I was meant to fly out that I hadn't got a confirmation email from Qantas about my flight to San Diego. And then I logged onto the Qantas website and couldn't find it. And then I checked my bank account and I was sure that I'd seen the payment come out for it, and the payment wasn't there either. And at this point I had a near-on mental breakdown because I was just like, did I imagine this? Have I like booked everything and then just forgotten to book the most crucial flight out of all of them, arguably? And I was like walking around my house going like, how has this happened? How could this be a thing? I don't understand. And like, just like looking up flights last minute and like how much that would cost. And there was no flights. I'm like, oh my God, I've got all these meetings booked. I've got so much going on. I was on the verge of tears. Like, and it takes a lot to shake me because I was just bewildered because I was so sure I did it. I was like, I remember
You're a very
booking
organized person. Yeah.
And the thing is, though, that there was a couple of times where, because I was booking the flights and all of the accommodation at the same time, I was like, had the flight window open, and it had timed out a couple of times. So there was just a little element of doubt in my mind of like, maybe I thought I booked it, but I didn't. Anyway, as a last-ditch attempt to try and work out what on earth had happened, because I was just like, I think I'm going insane at this point. So I was like, oh, I booked with a Qantas gift voucher. I wonder if the money hasn't been taken out of the Qantas gift voucher, I know 100% I haven't booked the flight. However, if it is taken out, then I know I booked it, right? So I logged in, and it turns out Qantas has a different portal for their flights and stuff that are booked with the gift voucher. So once I entered in the gift voucher information, it came up. And apparently what happened is there was some error with this like travel sharing thing, which meant the payment did come out of my bank account, but then it actually got cancelled and reversed. And it wasn't until I actually called up and said, hey, can you send me all the confirmation stuff? Because that wasn't being sent from Qantas or American Airlines to Qantas, then to me. And it wasn't until I was on the flight with this, the phone with this guy, and he was like, oh yeah, I can see what's gone wrong here, we'll send you all the confirmation stuff. And then he was like, oh, is there anything else I can do for you? I'm like, no, I think that's everything, like as long as I'm getting on the flight. And like at the very last second, he was like, oh, I can see that the payment didn't go through for this properly. But I was like this close to be like, man, did I just get a free flight? This close.
At this point, you've earned it, I think.
I think so. But after all that particular flight, I got on the plane. I was in the middle seat on the aisle. So there was a seat either side of me. I sat down between a lady and a gentleman, and they started talking across me almost immediately. And I was like, oh, are you two together? Sorry, would you like me to move like one way or the other so you can sit next to each other? And they're like, no, we do not want to sit next to each other. I'm like,
oh no.
Oh, okay, all right. And I don't know what their deal was. I assume they were going through some kind of like couples dispute, divorce, something like that. I don't know what the deal was. But for the entire flight there, they were quipping back and forth across me, which was just incredibly uncomfortable and just weird to begin with. And then to top it off, they committed the cardinal airplane sin of, if you have the window seat and the aisle seat, you cede the middle armrest. That is the person who sits in the middle. Both of them took the middle armrests and would fight me for it. Which, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what they've got going on. I don't care, who's done what to whom. As far as I'm concerned, they deserve each other because they're both as bad as each other. Because I was sat there almost the whole flight, like hunched together. And I'm a reasonably broad guy, I could use a little bit of room to stretch out a little bit and at least have my arms on the armrests. But both of them would like occasionally just go, nudge me off the armrest. I'll be like,
they would physically nudge you.
Yeah. Like it wasn't like oh yeah, I'm just like subconsciously just, I don't know, just like I just subconsciously stretched and accidentally nudged you off. No, it was like a deliberate, no, this is my armrest. I paid for this. Like, bitch. Please, no, calm down.
I'm shook. That's horrific. I hate that for you.
It was an ordeal. It was definitely one of the most uncomfortable flights that I've ever taken in my life, both from a physical standpoint and also a mental standpoint.
When I was 16, we went to LA, me and my family, and I had also a nightmare middle seat story. So I think it's just tradition on that flight. So I was a very small 16-year-old, so it was fine for most of the time me being in the middle seat. On the right of me was my youngest brother, and he was quite small. He was like 6 or 7, so he was a small child curled up into a ball who had been plied with sleeping tablets, so he was getting drowsy. And And then on the left of me was a woman who was a little bit larger. That's fine, whatever. But then she kind of, as the flight progressed, she became less and less concerned about what was her space and what was my space, and was kind of just spreading out.
Yeah, okay.
And
Yep.
kind of just getting a bit more comfy, and like her bag kind of got nudged into like my little footwell, and she also took like the armrest and stuff. And at this point, the rest of the plane was starting to go to sleep. They were trying to keep us in like a fairly regular sleep cycle. Ryan has passed out on his sleep tablets, like just gone to the world, and I'm so envious of this child. The sleeping tablets are not working on me. I'm just wide awake.
Yeah.
And then I started to fall asleep finally, and this woman reaches up and switches on her overhead light, which is blinding. So I've gone from like drowsy, sleepy time plane. They turn all the lights down and it's nice and calm. And then she turns her light on and I've gone like a possum, right?
Right.
And she pulls out this alfoil container of something and starts to peel it, and it's just crinkling, and she just starts eating from it. And I was just like, I'm as a 16-year-old, I was very, very shy. I was very, very non-confrontational. I was just a little book nerd. I was already nervous to be on such a long flight. And I remember looking at this woman with every ounce of disgust that my little body could hold. And I think it was like gaining sentience for the second time. I was like, I actually really hate you. Like, I'd never been exposed to anyone in my life who was that careless about the people around her. And then I looked at her and she's just eating away, just like gravy or something out of this alfoil container. And I just remember being like,
Good God.
okay. It was like a new facet of humanity opened up to me. And I remember also side-eyeing my small brother, unconscious in the seat next to me, a much, much smaller target. And I was like, I could just swap him. I could just swap him into my seat. Then she can spill over as much as she likes. And she can sprawl out. She can have her bags. She can have her wings for eating her food.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at him, this tiny little innocent face, passed out asleep. And I just went, I can't do that to him, because he's going to wake up like she's right there kind of thing. And as we're landing, I'm now going over 24 hours without sleep as we started landing in LAX. And she turned to me and she goes, "Is it your first time in the States?" And I just went, mm-mm. It was my first time in the States. I was saying, no, I don't want to talk to you. And she was the first person I ever stonewalled in my entire life, where I was so angry at a stranger, it overruled my baked-in politeness.
Yeah,
and
right.
I fully ignored her. And she kept trying to talk to me, and I just stared straight ahead. She probably thought I couldn't hear her or something, because I was just like, I can't talk to you. If I talk to you, I'll cry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm exhausted, and I don't know how to manage these emotions. I'm a teenager. Like, yeah. And then that day, we couldn't check into it. So we left Melbourne at 8 a.m. and we got to LAX at 7 a.m. on the same day.
Yeah.
Then we couldn't check into our hotel until 3 p.m. So my parents decided to take us to Disneyland. They tell me I went to Disneyland that day. I don't remember anything about the day.
Doing anything on that first day is never a good idea. That's always a write-off. I think for me, I've found that the best method for trying to offset jet lag a little bit is just staying up the entire night before, and then on the plane sleeping as close to the nighttime hours of the destination.
Yes.
And that tends to do me reasonably well. But even then, like, you get to like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and you're just like, oh, this is tough. This is tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
I
rough.
hate flying long distances, and because of you, I think I'm going to be flying that distance next year. So thanks for tapping me on the shoulder for that one.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I'm so excited. It'll be great. I had such a great time in San Diego, and it's such a great city. Like, that was my first time going to San Diego, and it's besides
you went
New
to
York.
Vegas last year, didn't you?
Yes,
Yes,
Vegas
that's
was
right.
last year. Yeah. And I've done a lot of like the East Coast.
Okay.
Or the eastern states, not necessarily just the coast, but that I haven't done a lot of the western side of America. So
It's very fun. I genuinely enjoyed it a lot, and I loved the people over there. The second they found out we were Aussie when we were traveling around there, they loved us, and it was great.
mm-hmm.
And they were just so nice and so friendly, and I don't know, I loved it. I'm actually really excited to go back. I've been wanting to go back for years, but with the pandemic and everything, it just put such a wrench in travel plans. So
Yeah. 100%. I
Next
totally
year
understand.
should be good. 2025, we'll do a tea and tails in San Diego.
We'll go get some tacos and we'll do a tea and tails. Tacos, margaritas.
Tacos and tails.
Tacos and tails. Oh, incredible. I can't wait. Like, honestly, the entire week, oh, I just hit my mic. The entire week I was there, I ate almost nothing but tacos. Like, I was just like, every meal was Mexican food.
Yum.
And I, like, you can't be that close to Mexico and get away with selling bad Mexican food. And here in Australia, like, yes, you can get good Mexican food, but the vast majority of it is painfully mid, if not just outright bad and bland. And if there's one thing that Mexican food should never be, is bland. So I just absolutely made the most of it, and I was happy as a pig in shit. Like, it was amazing. I was so happy.
Amazing. So get ready for episode 9 of Taco and Tails.
Yeah, in October next year. Tacos and tails.
I was going to say, we've done really well. This is our second episode in 2024. We only delayed it 3 times.
No. This is our 3rd episode in 2024. Last episode was our 2nd episode of the year.
I think we recorded an episode in 23 and it didn't get uploaded until 24.
You may be right. Okay, I haven't. Look, I'm just going off of the information that you said, because I did have a quick, brief listen to the previous episode. You
listened to the podcast?
Yeah, just to kind of get like the grounding and the context, so we could kind of pick things up. So if people are listening to them back to back, there's a little bit of cohesiveness, a little bit of evolution of the own story of the podcast.
This just goes everywhere. We have 5-star ratings on our podcast, by the way. How cool is that? 5 for 5.
5-star ratings.
Okay,
if you're listening to this right now, put down below, if you are on a platform that allows you to comment your worst travel story.
Yes.
And then give us a 5-star rating. Or an associated rating that is unassociated with your travel story. Yeah,
don't rate your travel story as our podcast. They're two separate entities, okay? But yeah, if we get some awful travel stories, we'll read them out on the next podcast.
That's such a good idea. Oh my God. Yes.
Everyone's got a bad travel story. It's a fantastic icebreaker. Because like
that.
You can, you go to a mixer or something and someone's like, yeah, I just got back from traveling. You never ask them, oh, what'd you like about it? Because it's just wholesome crap. Okay. We want drama. We want tea. What did you hate about it the most?
I don't think I have ever asked somebody about their trip and gone, what was the worst part of your trip?
That is literally how I got you to start talking about that story. And that was immensely more entertaining than if you had enjoyed the flight.
I mean, that is, okay. Yeah, fair point. True.
So I went on a cruise a couple of years ago. This is my cruise-related bad travel story. I've got 2 from this cruise. So myself and my girlfriend of many, many years, we walked onto this ship and immediately realized that we were bringing down the median age by quite a lot. It was a very elderly cruise, which ended up being great. We made a lot of friends with the oldies. They were wonderful. Weirdly like sassy. Like, you make friends with old people. They are hilarious. We realized that the cabins are a lot smaller than you see on the websites. And we realized that the bathrooms in those cabins are equally as small. We were both we're both like slenderish women, and we can get into our bathrooms. There were some people on the cruise ship who couldn't. So the place where they went to bathe were the hot tubs on the back deck. If you're ever on a cruise, do not go into the hot tubs on the cruise ship because they are used as baths. Oh no. This is your invitation to share bad cruise stories down in the comments below, because cruises are a treasure trove. I have possibly I don't want to like one up you here, because I have the worst cruise story. This is like legitimate trauma for me. Like, unironically, it is awful, catastrophic. So this is back when I was very young. I was like, I think I would have been 18, 19, and I was engaged. Well, no, I wasn't engaged. I had a long-term girlfriend who I was planning on proposing to. Oh wow. And we decided to go on a cruise together, and I just to like New Caledonia, Vanuatu, the classic.
Yeah. And so we booked like I think it was like a 15-day cruise. And
That's a lot. That's a big one.
it's a big one. It's a long time to be stuck on a boat with somebody. And so, oh boy, dude, I get anxiety just thinking about this again, putting myself back in those shoes.
The stakes are high, dude. I'm vibing for you. Like,
oh my God. So
it's gonna be okay.
booked this cruise together, and I bought an engagement ring and everything like that.
My God.
And planned to propose to her like in New Caledonia. And I told her family, like I talked to her family about it beforehand. I talked to my family about it beforehand, let them know what was going on, what my plans were, rah, rah, rah. And then we got on the cruise and everything was fine. And then I think it was day 2 or day 3, one night. And I forget exactly what happened, but it was like, I think she got like a phone call or something like that from one of her girlfriends. And I overheard it.
Oh my God.
And found out that she'd been cheating on me with one of her girlfriends. And this is somebody that like she'd been like going over and like having sleepovers with. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. No dramas, nothing weird about that, just go and hang out, have a girls' night, rah, rah, rah. And I was like, I was completely blindsided.
And this is day 2.
This is like day 2, day 3 of a 15-day cruise.
And you can't get off the ship.
You can't get off the ship. There's nowhere to go. And so, like, I called her out on it. We had like a fight about it. And in a fit of rage...
No.
I opened up the balcony room that we had. And I yeeted the engagement ring over the side of the ship. I was like, this was gonna be for you, you ungrateful bitch. And then just straight over the side. Gone forever. It was in a beautiful, like, wooden, hand-carved, like, ring box. So there's someone out there that has probably at this stage found this washed up engagement ring in a box. That's my headcanon, is that this has been found by somebody, and hopefully somebody who deserves it,
Yeah.
And so...
Oh my God. This is the most Titanic bullshit.
Oh my God. And so anyway, for like 4 or 5 days, I basically, like, we had to share the same room. Again, like you said, they're not very big.
They're not.
I would like spend most of my days just go do something elsewhere on the ship, and she'd be like following me around, like, oh, come on, give us another chance. I really want to work on us. I'm so sorry, rah, rah, blah, blah, blah. Oh. Anyway, she's incredibly emotionally manipulative. And after like 5 days of constant and not being able to get away,
oh my God,
I was like, fine, we can work on us. We can work. Because initially I was like, no, it's done. It's over. We're done, so.
Yep.
But after 5 days of constant, like, just nagging and like I realize now it was emotional manipulation.
I feel like this is a crime.
It feels like a crime.
This feels like a crime. It feels like you are describing like captivity.
Oh, it's horrible to think about. And the worst part about this was that once I decided that I was going to give the relationship another chance, my brain then went, well, how am I going to explain this to her parents? How am I going to explain this to my parents? How am I going to explain this to anybody that I've said to everybody, I'm going to propose to her while we're away? What do we do? Like, what are they going to think of me? Because at this stage, I was like, man, this is a reflection of me. Like, this has happened because I'm a shitty person, right? And so I went to the jewelry store on the ship and bought a new engagement ring, and then proposed to her on like the third last day of the cruise. And oh my god, the biggest mistake of my life. It was...
Oh my God.
Needless to say, it didn't work out in the end. But holy crap, was that the most, like, traumatic, awful cruise that you could ever imagine. It was apocalyptically terrible.
If this was a story on Reddit, I'd be calling fake. This is... I'm so sorry for you. Oh my God. I'm going to buy you a drink next year when we finally meet. And you're going to be like, what's this for? And I'll be like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to remind you of this.
Fine.
Once we hit stop recording, I want you to forget that we spoke about this. Oh my God.
It's just, it was, man, it's something. It's something. It's one of those things where if I don't laugh about it, I'll cry because like, holy crap.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. So anyway, if anybody thinks they can top that as a bad cruise story, put that in the comments because holy shit. Anything that can be even in the same league as that is gonna be a banger.
Yeah, go on. Let's see the stories in the comments. I have one more cruise story. Technically, it didn't happen on the ship. It was on a shore activity. So myself and my best friend, we were alternating between picking shore tours, and mine were like massages at resorts, mystery tropical island, and she was like bike riding, horse riding, kayaks. Like, she's a very athletic, fit person, and I'm not. And so we were in Tonga, and we had decided to kayak out to this island. It was very exciting, and we're on the bus heading out to where we're going to leave off from. And I'm just watching. It's a steely, overcast day. The rain has started spattering down, and I'm like, I can't wait to be on a kayak on the open water in this. This is going to be so exciting. And we get to this. The bus just stops on this road, and I'm kind of looking around. I'm like, well, there's water there. Where's the beach? It's road, a little bit of grass, and then rocks with water over it. There wasn't a beach. It was just these big, giant chunks of rock. I was like, all right. I'm kind of like looking at my footwear. I'm like, Kmart thongs, let's go. We'll see how we do. And we kind of get down there. They show us how to pack our little wet bags and like roll them up and everything. And then they go, all right, you two in that kayak, you two in that kayak, you two in that kayak. And they're like, all right, the strongest person goes in the back of the kayak because they have to be like the power, right? And I'm already moving towards the front of the kayak. Like, I'm giving up that seat very willingly. And so Lucy is in the process of picking up like the paddle, as I'm kind of trying to navigate how do I get in a kayak without bringing half the ocean with me. And I've stepped down into the rocks and then gone to step out of them and lift my foot into the kayak. And the Kmart thong has just given up the ghost and the little plug has come out. So my foot has come out of the thong and the thong has stayed where it was. Yeah. So I've lifted my foot and been like, oh, my thong's not come with me. I've just got a bare foot over like these very, very sharp rocks now. As Lucy's turned around to see what I'm doing and has just backhanded me with the paddle, which has then knocked me onto the rocks. So what's happened to me is like, oh, my thongs. And then I think I've blacked out for a second and I've kind of come to half sprawled over the kayak with this paddle floating past me because my friend's going, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, there's so much pain. There was no pain. And now I'm at like 100. It was the fastest I've ever gone from 0 to 100 in pain levels. And so then I was very cranky. My thong's floating away. I made her go and get the thong, even though it was broken. And then I've gotten into the front of the kayak and I've just sat there. And I have refused. And then she had to shove us off using the hated paddle. And then we start paddling. And at first I'm like, where are we going? What are we aiming for? And one of the guys is like, you see that landmass out there? And I'm like, yep. And like, yep, that's 1.5 kilometers away. Start kayaking. Now, the really fun thing, right? There was a storm rolling in. There was a strong breeze sweeping over the water. I had an egg on my head and a very cranky temperament. And the water between the rocky non-beach and the island was dotted with rusted shipwrecks.
Oh,
and
fun.
Because I wasn't a very strong paddler and because our weight combined wasn't really enough to hold the kayak down, we kept getting blown into the shipwreck.
Yeah, you're just a piece of litter at that point being blown across the ocean.
Yeah, and then we got real humbled when at one point one of the guys running the tour came over, hooked our kayak to his, and towed us both.
Oh.
With just his arms.
I've been on enough kayaking trips to know exactly that scenario. Yeah, perfect. Okay.
Yeah. But I was very glad because one of the only shots we didn't get before going on the cruise was a tetanus shot. And
oh, nice.
when you're being blown into like the rusted carcass of an old ship from like the 90s, that's all you can see. You're just like, I'm going to die. I'm just going to get cut to ribbons and tetanus
It's an
right
island
up.
of tetanus.
Yeah. So then the island was very nice. I do have a picture of me standing on the beach in my little like bikini dress, just a bit out of it. Feeling still a bit dopey, and knowing that we had to kayak the entire way back was not enthusing me one bit. But
Do you find that you're like somebody who's able to like forgive and move past physical pain, especially if it's unintentionally inflicted?
it depends on who inflicts it and how
Okay.
they respond.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So Lucy has been my best friend since we were like 14 or something. So she basically has a free pass. She could probably murder me and it'd be like, you're probably justified.
Yeah.
And it's that we have that kind of relationship where I can literally just turn up at her house and be like, I live here for 6 months, and she'll be like, all right, here's your room. So her backhanding me with a paddle, that was completely fine. But then she also immediately dropped the paddle and was incredibly apologetic, and she was near tears herself and that kind of thing. If someone accidentally hurts me and then laughs about it and doesn't check on me, I definitely have that little sim moodlet thing that comes up with like a little negative red line.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good analogy. I like that. Yeah.
How do you go with accidentally inflicted pain?
You know what? I think I do okay. But I'm not sure if that's just like me repressing my rage or not. I'm not really sure. I'm not too in touch with that side of myself yet. We're working on it. But the reason I asked is because I had like one of those moments when I was down in PAX that will probably stay with me almost for the rest of my life.
What happened?
In terms of like social anxiety and cringe. Because I was at a mixer at the Playside Studios down in Melbourne, and we were getting like, it's on the second floor, there's an elevator to get up there, and we were going to leave, and I and a couple of other streamers were about to get into the elevator, and one person was in front of me, and the door started to close, and without even thinking, reflexively I stuck my leg, went to like stick my leg in the door to stop it closing so everybody else could get in. And instead of like putting my leg in the door, I kicked the person in front of me so hard. I like booted them into another universe and nearly, in the back of the leg, nearly tripped them over. And it's somebody I'd never met before.
No.
It wasn't even somebody I knew. It was just somebody, a stranger to me at that point, who I was like, I was immediately mortified. I could not believe it. And because I wasn't expecting, like, I wasn't like, my brain didn't even register like, oh, be careful around somebody else. It was just like, stop the door. So I like moved my leg so fast. I kicked her so hard in the back of the leg. And she turned around and looked at me, and the look that she gave me was withering. Absolutely
She probably
withering.
thought she was being attacked.
And I wouldn't blame her because I did. I didn't mean to. I did. It was oh my god. I nearly died right then and there. And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I was trying to stop the door. I didn't mean. Are you okay?" And the worst part is that she was part of the same group that was going to karaoke after this. Well, actually, no. I don't know if this was worse or better, the fact that she was the same group, because it did mean I had the opportunity in the Uber to continue to apologize profusely. And Charlie, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was an accident. I'm still sorry. This is one of those things that you will think back on at like 2 a.m. in the future and just be like, oh my god, I can't, like, just those social cringe moments. Like, I don't know about you, but I definitely am somebody who will just be like laying there 2 o'clock in the morning, like, oh, I need to sleep, need to relax. And then my brain's like, Hey, have you thought about this one particular moment that you have not thought about in the last 16 years where something socially awkward or kind of cringy kind of happened to you?
Yeah. I actually used to get that a lot, and it did used to keep me awake, and it did used to really affect me, and now I'm just like, I don't give a shit anymore. Like, that probably sounds so callous, and I don't know if I have a recent event where I've been just like an awkward little muffin to someone. I certainly haven't booted anyone into the stratosphere lately.
We'll consider that a good thing then.
Yeah, but I kind of like, I have these moments on stream where I either like get frustrated or I like rant too much. And I used to go to bed in like 21, 22 and be like, oh, I shouldn't have talked about that. I shouldn't have done X, Y, and Z. And it is what it is. It's this, you know, I think I'm just old and uncaring now. Genuinely, I'm like, I've made it to 30. I'm about to turn 33. Like, and nothing bad has happened. I have good friends. I have Mr. Sky. Like, you know, how bad could I have been if I really was an asshole? I wouldn't have like all a loving community. I wouldn't have all this stuff. And then also there's a juxtaposition. I go onto Instagram Reels and I read some of the comments on there, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing fine. I'm actually a very well-adjusted human being. So, but I think that's like always a risk that you run when you are interacting with a stranger. And Aussies talk to each other a lot. And Aussies, I found, like, because I've traveled a fair bit, are always the most willing, I found, to interact and engage with someone that they don't know. So, like, for example, we recently went away just for like a weekend, basically. And at that location, there was a buffet breakfast. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is one of the reasons that we keep going back to this place is because of the buffet breakfast. It's very good.
Can't get mad about a buffet breakfast,
No.
especially if it's a good buffet breakfast.
Exactly.
Like, that's a gold mine right there.
Exactly. Thing is, it's like $40 a head. I don't eat $40 of food in one sitting.
I was going to say, like, but if you wanted to, you could make your money back on that.
Exactly. But the thing that I've just started doing is because we usually go and have breakfast and then we go for a hike or a walk or something. And I will kind of palm pastries into my bag. I'm like, that's how I get
that's
my...
That's the pro move right there. Like,
Exactly.
why just have a buffet breakfast when you could have buffet food
Everything.
all day?
Exactly. So I'm sitting at this table and I've kind of lined up my pastries. They've each got their designated napkin that I can wrap them in, and then like it's easier to slide them into my bag if they're covered in a napkin. And I make eyes with this woman. I make eye contact with this mum sitting across the way. And I realize I've accidentally made eye contact with her at the exact moment she's been putting a pastry in a bag. Like she's doing the exact same thing as me. My pastry has gone in the bag and she's in the process of like zipping the Ziploc. And she's looked at me and I've looked at her and I've just gone... As in, carry on.
We are two individuals of exceptional culture.
It was this weird bonding moment of like, you should try the napkin method. Easier to get them in the bag. But I felt like she wasn't going to continue stealing the pastry until I gave her this solemn nod of approval, like I was a drug lord, being like, yes, go ahead. But then she gave me this big, beautiful smile, and I was like, oh, a little moment of human connection, stealing from establishments. I love it.
I do think that though that like low key kind of bringing some Ziploc bags to breakfast is like genius. Like that is so smart.
I reevaluated my napkin method after that. I was like, that actually gets added to the list for next year. So we're taking Ziploc bags.
Just carry around a couple of Ziploc bags. Like that's big brain.
She was much more accomplished than I was at the pastry stealing game. She got quite a few, and she had her kid running as a mule to go and get like more muffins and stuff. Like she was
That's
prepared.
so smart, dude.
She was prepared.
Oh my god, wow.
I was in awe. I realized that in that moment I had
That's a whole operation right there.
I know.
She probably owns her own bakery and she's just taking those and reselling them in town. Yeah.
No, but I mean, like that's snacks for the rest of the day. Like
literally, yeah.
They got to throw that stuff out anyway. Once it's been out on the plates, it's got to go in the bins. So it may as well go in my backpack for a hike snack.
That's it. Yeah. No, I love that. That's I just love that those little moments where you just like have like that just like little nod of acknowledgement. Like that's a great thing. That's a great thing.
I did get a chuckle out of some strangers the other night, and I'm going to carry that little badge of approval with me.
Okay.
So actually, after we saw Wicked, so Wicked was playing at the Queensland Performing Arts Centre, which is kind of in South Bank of Brisbane. It's a very large populated area. Where you have to go afterwards is a suburb called West End. And it's kind of under a lot of construction at the moment. So there's like a lot of, like, honestly, fairly dodgy bits. And it's kind of the only like spot where I'd feel like I needed a group to walk with. And so my friend and I who'd gone and seen the play, we both came out a little overstimulated because it had been like a like loud music and loud vocals and lots of applause and people pressing close to us. And so we're both a bit like, time to go home. I'm done with socializing for a little bit. We walk out of the theater, everyone's in black tie, and we walk out, the doors open onto the street, and we can hear screaming. Just screaming. And then everyone kind of pauses like, is that I'm in pain screaming? But then we heard the swear words mixed in and we're like, oh, it's rage screaming. Okay, so we don't need to render assistance probably. But the Performing Arts Centre has like a little walkway that goes over the busway. So one of our bridges in Brisbane has been turned into a busway recently. It's still new enough that sometimes people try to go across the busway in their cars. And this is what had happened. A lady had managed to get onto the busway in her car. She was freaking out. The bus drivers were being extremely helpful by honking her and blocking her in. Awesome work from the bus drivers there. And this guy was taking it very personally that there was a car on the busway, and he was just going off his head, screaming, flipping her off. And I'm like, Brisbane. Just so lovely. Kind of dragged my friend away from it. We start walking down through West End. We're in this little pack, and we're heading in this very unlit section that's usually like a very busy road, but they're kind of tearing up all the tarmac, and so you kind of go through this little labyrinth of those little like fences, and we're kind of like winding through in this big group of theatre leavers, and we hear like this little ding ding, and then someone goes, entitled scooter riders coming through, and on those little those little electric scooters, they go flying past us and like so close to us. And because it was the same, I think I got the laugh because it was the same group that had seen the guy screaming in the busway, and then this happened to us like 30 seconds later, and I just threw up my hands and went, man, fuck West End. And they all laughed, and I went, I've got to carry that with me for a while.
Well, I'm glad you got something to hang your hat on out of that situation.
Yeah, 2 minutes later, we saw the biggest cockroach I've ever seen in my life, and I nearly cried. And we went home immediately. It was...
Okay, fair.
It was a very damaging night. We were on such a high from seeing the musical. And then we came out and were just like confronted with the harsh realities of Brisbane near midnight on a Friday night. And it was like, let's go home. I want my pajamas.
Yeah. No, that's understandable. I think, it can be very, very humbling to have those experiences of like going from a really enjoy like a movie or a show or something like that, and then you're just like, oh yeah, back to reality, back to the real world.
Yes. And yeah, I think it was so funny that this all happened in such a condensed amount of time. I wasn't even actually that annoyed by it. I was just like, this is such a weird juxtaposition. How can we go from such a beautiful, refined, like, center of culture and performing arts to just screaming madmen on the busway, honking horns, giant cockroaches, like...
Well, that's the secret, Ren. It's all culture. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Culture is everything. Like,
I just felt so bad because I knew some people had travelled to Brisbane to see Wicked, and I was like, can you imagine if that was your first experience with this city?
I mean, I've definitely had some questionable experiences in cities that have definitely given me like a bad first impression. Like, and I've just been
it's hard to shake that.
It is hard to shake that. Like, I feel like I've told you the story of when I first went to Cooper Pedy.
You're gonna have to remind me. My memory is terrible.
The first time I was doing a road trip with my friends. Like, we did like I think it was like a 10-day road trip, like 5 days driving to Uluru, 5 days driving back, and we went through Cooper Pedy. And for those of you who don't know, Cooper Pedy is this little tiny town. I think the population is a few hundred, maybe 1,000 at the most. It's a pretty small town, and it's mainly known for its like opal mines and opal mining, and a lot of stuff is underground because it's in the middle of the desert, and it's like, you know, besides like the opal miners, it's pretty poor. and kind of run down and very dirty and dusty and dingy and just not the best. And my first impression of Cooper Pedy was driving in, and on the way in there is a roundabout.
There's a roundabout in Cooper Pedy?
There is a roundabout in Cooper Pedy, and my first impression of Cooper Pedy was getting to this roundabout before you go into town, and there was about 40 people gathered around the roundabout, and we're like, what the hell's going on here? And it was just me and my mate in this ute, and I was driving us through, and we get closer to the roundabout, and we realize that there was 2 people boxing in the center of the roundabout, and everybody was gathered around. And as we drove past, we realized that they weren't just boxing, they were boxing with one set of boxing mitts. So one of them had the left mitt, the other one had the right, and they were just laying into each other in the middle of the roundabout. And it was just like, okay, this is an interesting place.
That's actually, I kind of love that. Also, that's like the population of Cooper Pedy turned out to watch that. It was probably an organized
It was like
event.
a national sport, like, well, not national sport, but like a local sporting attraction. It felt like that was it was a solid turnout.
That is actually, I kind of love that. That's South Australia represents right there. Well done.
It definitely left a lasting impression on me.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, oh sorry, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and on that lasting impression, we should probably start to wrap up because it has been nearly an hour.
I was gonna say,
big brain.
I know. We're so look. This is our second episode. We're starting to get the procedures down.
Mm-hmm.
Second episode this year.
Sorry.
Second episode this year. I did check.
Oh, it is? Oh,
yeah,
we are smashing it then. Who knows? We might even be able to get a sneaky 3rd episode in before the end of the year.
Now that we've got our recording down. I know.
Should you be so lucky, listeners. But if you have listened this far, thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. We both really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And we look forward to hearing you in the next... having you hear us in the next one.
Well, technically, we're going to be hearing them because we've asked them to put travel stories in. So we're going to be hearing their stories.
Yeah. So make sure to leave your traumatic travel stories down below in the comments section on whatever platform you're listening on.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee, who are you and where can people find you?
My name is ReneeSky, and you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/ReneeSky, streaming twice a week. And yourself, Drongo?
I am BloodyDrongo, and you can find me on twitch.tv/BloodyDrongo, and you may be able to find me wearing a train costume. Who knows? We'll see.
Oh my gosh. And also follow me on TikTok because I'm posting our content from like 3 years ago finally.
Yeah, you should follow us on short form media. And also, I should say that I have been making a transition over to BlooSky recently as well. So if people want to follow us on BlooSky, I'm BloodyDrongo on BlooSky, and Renee, you are ReneeSky on BlooSky, right?
Yep.
It's a lot of sky. Perfect.
I know. It fits me so much better than Twitter ever did.
Me too. It feels much better.
It's wonderful. Alrighty.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys so much for listening. And Drongo, thank you for doing the intro and the outro. Always appreciated. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.